What is going on, guys? Welcome to another episode of Double Tap, a mashless button podcast dedicated to the FGC. And of course, today is March the 5th of 2024. And I am, of course, Mezza, one of your hosts, attended by, of course, StaticGorilla, aka Gabe.
Okay.
You like that, right? Backwards, sure. Yeah.
Yes, that is me. That is I. Hello.
And we will, of course, in the background have our main man, producer, Ja. Hello, sir.
Hey, how you doing? You know, Mezza, I just want to say one thing real quick. You look so well rested. You really do.
Thank you.
You're glowing, dude. What is your secret to being so well rested?
Try not to go to work and lots of bath time.
Oh yeah,
lots of bath time.
Because I could have swore it was missing recording time. I thought that's what the real secret was.
Dang.
I hate you.
Pew.
Oh yeah, sorry for the late episode, everybody. Our main man had to take a nappy nap yesterday, but now he's good. We're gonna have a great show.
I'm rested.
Yeah, well rested.
Oh man, that's great. I love that. I can't not think about it. Of course, this is a podcast that we love doing, and of course with you guys, if you're new to it, we talk about fighting games, and if you aren't, well, welcome back. We're going to talk about fighting games, and of course we're going to start off with the question of the week, which was a very interesting one. It was what would you guys have named 2XKO instead of 2XKO, which was or rather the Project L game. And we got quite a few responses, mainly from our Discord, which people had their own take on it. And one of our own people said Crashtag, which isn't here with us this week. He said, I would name it Project Lane. Senchu said Arcane Tag or Versus, Hex Tech, Double Knockout. Yes, it's better to be spell it that way, which is just Double Knockout. League of Fighters and Project L are saying anything really else but that. And then, of course, Gimgaman said League of Legends Cross Duel, LOL X Duel. That is a lot. I don't know if I could be behind that one. And of course, my favorite, Block This Mix, which is mine. Gabe, did you even have one?
I like Double KO. I've been saying Double KO for a while.
That I'll say Double Knockout was popular. League of Fighters was also popular. And then just still Project L was popular. Yeah.
Project L isn't bad.
It's not bad. Yeah.
I mean, why not just stick with the Project L? It's just a better name. And it's even Project League. It sounds better.
We can call it Project L forever.
Runeterra something was also popular.
Something.
Yes. Runeterra Rumble, Runeterra Brawl, Runeterra Fighters. Somebody called it Lethal Tempo. I don't play League, so does that mean anything to anybody?
If I recall, I'm a little years off. Lethal Tempo is, I believe it's Sona's move. She changes. Don't quote me on this. It's been a while. I believe it's Lethal Tempo is a move, but it's I believe it's from Sona. I think it's been a long time, guys. Like 6+ years. I don't play anymore for a good reason.
Now I have to get into the best name. From Twitter. So Baha Kimosabe from Twitter says, who fucking cares what it's called? As long as it plays good, it can be called dog water. I'm still gonna play it. So be careful what you wish for, because for from this point forward, we're gonna call that game dog water.
Dog water.
We reference it.
Yeah.
2XKO on this show is now henceforth named dog water. So
I mean, it rolls off the tongue. DW is a thing, and dog water definitely. Okay, I will say dog water definitely might have started from League, because I remember myself going from League to playing Rogue Company, and I was like, man, these players are dog water, and I was like, where did this come from? So it definitely might be a League thing more than anything. And I did find out Lethal Tempo is actually one of the routes on the Precision Mastery. So yeah. So we also, for our poll, you guys were asked did Capcom X or 10, I don't know why they call it X, it's just Capcom Cup, man. Did it get you hyped to play Street Fighter 6 more? On Twitter, we actually had a ton of votes, and 70% of you said yes, and the other percentage, the 30%, said no. Me personally, I thought it did. Also, we had a few on Discord too, where it was 6 that said they're excited to get back into it, and 4 were just not very that excited. So, I mean, Street Fighter's doing strides, it's doing things. I think Capcom Cup definitely helped with that. So
yeah, I mean, across the board, like you said, like 68% said yes and 32% said no, which surprised me. Because it surprised me because I didn't hear anything bad about Capcom Cup. The worst I heard about it was what we talked about on the show last week.
Productions. Yeah.
Street Fighter League.
You know, but nobody said anything bad about it. But I heard no one talk good about it either. Like nobody really said anything about it. So I kind of thought, I wouldn't say it flew under the radar, but there just wasn't a lot of noise about it, you know?
Just jury winning and JP getting nerfed, sort of.
Right.
And that there were no JPs, but all Kens and all Lukes, but jury still won. It's the main story, yeah.
I think they paid attention to LCQ. That's why. LCQ had a ton of JPs, and it was causing a lot of havoc, I feel.
Right. But yeah, that's why I was just surprised that so many people like, yeah, like it kind of got me motivated to play, which then it did its job.
Yeah.
So good for them.
Yeah, but we're actually going to be jumping right into talking about what actually happened at Street Fighter League, Street Fighter Capcom Cup, which was Ed. He was playable there, but we also got the release of Ed right after, which was on a Tuesday. So that was kind of nice because he also came with patches. But before we get into that, we're going to talk a little bit about Ed's gameplay itself, because a lot of people have been storming the top playing this character. This character has been kind of like the ultimate change. He no longer has kicks. He used to have kicks in it previously, but now the main focus is he's a full-on boxer. I don't know, Gabe, have you gotten to try him a little bit?
I did his trials, combos, and my issue is that he feels like too much of a manual character. What I mean is that the combos he's combo heavy. You can get very creative. There's a lot of different routes you can take, but it's just for me, it's a bit too technical. Whereas I like a little bit more straightforward, but then maybe that's too predictable. I don't know. But the character seems a bit difficult on a wide different ranges. So I'm not the hugest fan, but I get it. Also, apparently he has the worst jab in the game, according to many online. Yeah,
that's true.
For a guy who's boxing, he has a bad jab. However, the game does say he is the character with long range. You know, if you want to play long range like a Dalsim type, that is the I guess, what would you name that? The archetype of a character they put him under.
I would put him under more of a mid-range, mid-range boxer, just due to the fact that a lot of people have referenced him to Poison. They're like, oh, I feel like I'm playing Poison. I have like this pretty good range. I can kind of go in, do a lot of mix, quote unquote mix, but a lot of pressure. But he has these options to kind of weave in and out of being an end fighter and also being a mid-range fighter. So I wouldn't say he's full screen like Sim, shooting fireballs, full screen buttons, but I would say that mid-range is the sweet spot for him. And with the changes to him having no kicks, it actually takes away from him having a lot more lows that he used to have before. So he only has in total 2 lows, which is very different than most of the cast. So he has his crouch short, which is a light kick, and crouch heavy punch, which is a sweep in a sense.
Yeah.
So his sweep is actually not a sweep. It's very reverse. So for people who play Balrog, they're going to love this because it feels very natural. Somewhat a little bit the same with Dudley, but Dudley definitely had a lot more lows.
Yeah, this is more like to me with that switch is more like Makoto, where Makoto's crouch heavy kick is the anti-air sort of roundhouse type deal, and the crouch fierce is the sweep. So again, definitely takes a lot of getting used to. I don't think you can just jump in online and just go, unless you're like a pro player, like let's say Punk this weekend playing all Ed until he got into the grand finals at TNS 9. Or like Chris G, who's gone on his stream, is getting them to master, and a couple others are already with their videos on how to get to master. But again, I don't know, man. He's looking strong. He can be strong. I'm sure there's mixes, and happens like the first week of every new character. Somebody cracks it open, And then by 2 or 3 weeks, somebody is gonna decide, hey, he's actually a little low or mid or wherever. He's gonna fall into place. So that's where I feel like he's going.
I've definitely noticed that with most of his buttons, he only has probably 2 buttons, which are target combos, target comboable buttons that are non-drive rush cancelable. And Japan's been showing a lot of tech with him, from being able to utilize his, I almost want to say V2, but his level 2 super, and allowing you to drive rush cancel almost any button. So we're seeing, like you said, he has this high form of technicality with him. And with that high form of technicality, I think it's definitely something that's going to draw casual players a little bit away from him. But I definitely think he's a very fun character to kind of jump into. He's weird for a lot of the, I would say for a lot of the mid to advanced players, he feels uncomfortable. But if you're new to Street Fighter, or you're just new to picking up, you're looking for a new character that you haven't played the game enough, I think he fits the bill for being kind of that easy character, especially considering I think his modern controllers are really simple. Kind of brings him back to the original Street Fighter 5 days, which is really strong for him, versus if you have to play the classic controllers, it might be a little bit more confusing. So out of all the characters, I think he fits that category of like Luke and Chun-Li, where they feel very comfortable and easy to play with using the modern controllers.
So I agree with that. If you're used to the old modern one, you don't have any kick uppercuts, but you do have the sort of like the flicker combos, something that's reminiscent from the past. Okay, so at the tournament this weekend, the not flicker stance, but the claw, I guess you could say his scorpion get over here move. Let me see what it's called. Is it?
I actually don't know what the move's called. I just go quarter circle forward, light kicks, any one of them, because it is a very interesting thing.
So one thing I found interesting is out of his stance move, he can do what's called a break, which is the first half of the kill rush command dash. He does a move, and then out of kill switch chaser, which is the latter half of that move, he has another uppercut, which is, I guess, right hand, which actually has more juggle potential. So it kind of is like, now don't quote me, it's not like an electric, but it's kind of like an electric in Tekken, where you have to do a certain timing for a certain attack. Because if you do it too late, it won't combo. But if you do it too early, you'll get the other one, the less juggleable one. So if you do it right on time, you do get that later half of the juggle on that. However, I wanted to talk about the one move. Psycho flicker, I guess quarter circle forward heavy, or just kick in general. I saw Punk using that a lot. Even on block, it is pulling the opponent in, and apparently it's plus. So that's that's one of the issues that I'm seeing. That is quite a strong tool that I did see Punk use this weekend, and he did get to winners finals all the way. Sorry for a bit of spoilers, but he's definitely was not going to use Ed or a secondary character against Knuckle-Doo. We'll talk about the results.
Gotta win that money.
Yeah. Well, he didn't, but we'll get to that. Yeah.
There's a lot of good stuff about the character. There's a lot of things that people are figuring out, which I think is even counterplay to Ed right now, with, like you were saying, the whole flicker grab that he has now. There are options against that, and he does have other options to be able to back sway out of it, or forward sway, however you guys want to call it, command dash. But the biggest thing for me is he feels like the most unique and different DLC that we're all hoping they kind of for Capcom go that direction, because he feels unique. He doesn't feel like the normal, Shoto character, whether it be Ryu or Ken. He doesn't feel like a really not so well polished character such as like Aki or even Rashid, who feels kind of like the same game plan but just different buttons.
Talking about my character?
Yeah, I am. I am.
Okay, great.
I thought your character was Chun-Li.
All right, whatever, man.
But this being a new addition to the game, it kind of sends a signal. Is Akuma going to be the same, or are we going to see some difference in him? Yeah. This is something I'm looking forward to seeing, because Ken kind of felt like an amalgamation of many different versions of Ken, whereas Ryu kind of feels like the third strike meets a little bit of some of the old stuff.
Yeah.
But he kind of really wasn't too crazy different. He has donkey kick and stuff like that. So I would like to see if Ed's kind of the example moving forward to try to change original characters or even characters previously into something a little bit more older or new and fleshed out.
Yeah. I hear that. And by the way, I didn't know that the website for Street Fighter 6 actually, or just streetfighter.com actually has the frame data on there. Did you know that?
I didn't know.
I didn't know they started to put frame data on there. So I'm just looking at it now. Pretty good stuff. So yes, the fully charged flicker is +4 on block.
Interesting.
Yeah.
All right, guys. And of course, we are going to take a quick ad break and we'll jump back into some more patch notes and talking about Ed and many other things. So just sit tight and we'll be right back. All right, welcome back, guys. And of course, we have more Street Fighter to talk about. We're going to be talking about the patch notes, as they were kind of half patch notes. They weren't really too much, but there was still a good amount of changes. So a big part of that was the changes to characters being more unique. I don't really know how you could change them to be more unique, but one of the characters that they focused on was Jamie. Jamie definitely had a load of changes, from being able to now drink in between throwing people and many other tools, as well as other characters that were supposed to feel more unique, like Ryu. They tried to go back and change them. I don't know per se if that's the right move, and they are starting off with this is just a little bit of what's to come. So maybe that's a good thing or a bad thing. I think that they're trying to size that up with using two characters as an example.
Yeah. Some of the things that they listed were improved characters that could not fully express their individual potential. I guess that's what you mean by unique.
Yeah, which I don't. That just to me is like, what are we changing? I mean, Jamie's probably one of the only characters who struggles with that the most. Maybe Aki a little bit, but she's just a bad character.
Number 2 was improved techniques that were clearly difficult to use. So like, I don't know. That's funny.
It's level 2 super.
3 weaken elements that controlled an opponent's actions too severely. I mean, here's the thing. So they mentioned Ken's throw. While this is an offensive attack, he winds up in an ideal situation no matter where he is, which creates too much pressure, particularly for a character that don't, I guess the translation, that doesn't have any invincible attacks. In order to alleviate the situation when his throw lands in a corner off the screen, we've made it so that it is slightly worse situation after the throw.
I feel like these are... I don't know, maybe Jock can chime in for this one, because for me, I've always looked at it as like, man up. This is a tough situation. You got to hold that. Learn, right? Don't put yourself in that situation. That's what we were always taught. So I don't know, for playing from a casual standpoint, it's like, don't be that. Is it the same, or is it just like, I don't want to deal with that either?
Well, if you think about it from a casual, like if the game is not fun to play, if it's I shouldn't say not fun, but if the game is frustrating in areas, why would I play it when I could play all these other games that are not frustrating? You know, I mean, from a casual perspective, yes. Sure. Well, so, but then again, you know, this is Street Fighter. They know that, you know, obviously they want as many casual people to play, as many people to play as, you know, in general. So you're going to have a lot of casual players, but they do understand that bread and butter really is the fighting game community and the people who continue to play the games, because that's who's buying the seasons. That's who's going to buy their costumes, you know, all of these things. With that being the case, I don't know, like, it's just a different world, man. Like, so like, there's so many choices for players to make, that if a player is like, I don't think this is balanced, I don't like this, I'm not going to spend my time, I'm going to go play Mortal Kombat instead, right? That's a joke. But, like, you know, that's what they're kind of competing with. So I think they have to really do this balancing act where they're like, should we change this? Or should we just, you know, make them get adjusted to it? It's tough, man. 'Cause I've definitely seen games that react too quickly and make balance changes when they really should just let the community have at it a little bit and then figure out what they're, you know, gonna do. You also have to take in consideration, was this what they originally intended with the character? So that's also another thing to kind of take in consideration. You know, and who knows, that not 10 years ago, but 15, 20 years ago, if they had the ability to update the way they do now, would they have done the same thing, you know?
No, we would have just got a new game called like Ultra Street Fighter.
That is true.
That would have been fine. I would have been fine with it because like usually when they do that, it
was a new game.
It feels like a brand new game. Yeah,
That is true.
but
yeah.
If you're getting grabbed and put into the corner, and any game, I think it started happening in Street Fighter 4. Like if you're getting grabbed and put in the corner, shouldn't I be at advantage or not? Like why does everything have to reset if I did something right? That's what I don't like about fighting games these days, is that I'm doing something right, but I'm still at a disadvantage. Like I'm used to Street Fighter 4 where you can throw somebody and have a long time to jump, and yes, it is cheap. However, is the ambiguity helpful of a jump in that might be cross up or not? Like that's part of the fighting game. It's a good guess. I mean, I come from Marvel where you're guessing left, right, up, and down. Mezza, this weekend I played Dead X Pride and uses Virgil Point, Dr. Doom. I'm getting to a point, by the way. Dr. Doom and Strider. You're blocking Plasma Beam, you're blocking Vajra, and you're blocking Stinger, and you're blocking teleports, and you're blocking Harvest and Teleport.
It sounds like me.
Yeah, but you have to X Factor somewhere to make a decision. So it just blows my mind. Like that type of stuff, I'm not complaining about it. It's just cheap, and I gotta take it to the lab.
I think you're comparing the old world with the new world. That's kind of the.
It is a 13-year-old game.
Yeah, I think that's kind of part of the problem. Like, you know, I used to think the same exact way that you did. Like, why can't they just get good? Why can't they just be better? I got better. Why can't they get better? But as getting into my older age, I'm like, I see why. Like, I understand. I was like, okay,
games evolve. Yeah.
I gotta ask this. Wait, do you agree with that? Considering and I know I'm gonna go a little off topic with how Counter-Strike is, because they've changed it for a lot of the casuals to be able to just jump in and play a little bit easier.
They did, but I don't think the way they've changed like Counter-Strike. And for those who don't know, he's asking me this question because I specifically played a lot of competitive shooters, right? So that's why he's asking me this question. But they didn't change it that much. That they changed it at the lower levels, but those changes they made, I don't really feel like they affected the higher levels of competitive play. So that's why I don't have a problem with the changes they really made. You know, it's not like the stuff that they did in like Overwatch, where changes they would make for the high level negatively impacted the low level. You know, like sense, yeah. and vice versa. Like with, you know, if you can balance that out, I think that's fine. So I guess maybe the question is, are these changes that they're making, are they affecting high level play?
Well, yes, there were no Kens in top 8 TNS.
Okay, and now you think there will be?
No. There were no Kens this past weekend on the current patch.
There was a ton in Capcom Cup.
A ton in Capcom Cup, none in the current patch. Okay.
And there were Lukes all over. But there was... My friend was JP in top 16, but they nerfed his heavy punch to like... His crouch heavy punch, they nerfed it. So like, it's almost like the game doesn't want you to have anti-airs, but they want you to have good jump-in buttons. So I don't know why Luke's jump-in heavy punch is not been nerfed, but his crouch medium punch literally doesn't look like it carries the whole screen, but that one was nerfed. Mezza, we saw it carry Mena. We saw it carry Mena for the whole year or half a year. So you know,
I mean, well, with that being said, I do want to talk about, because we were talking about a little bit more on the casual side. They did do some updates to the controllers in mechanics, which actually I feel helps the casual audience. For instance, they did upgrade the modern and dynamic controllers, where now you can actually map a throw button, and that wasn't doable before. So things like that, I guess you could say that's what Jaw's talking about. Like, it's not going to affect the high level play because we're teching with 2 buttons, we're doing option selects. Whereas, you know, a more casual player is just like, I just want to be able to tech the throw by just like pressing 1 button, which it's reasonable. They've also done some other fixes that are more universal to help. So there's armor crushable moves, or rather armor breakable moves, and they were not breaking. I imagine if you're a casual player, you're like, this move's supposed to break, why is it not doing it? And now it does. So we're seeing healthy stuff from both sides, including even Drive Rush, kind of, which is more high level at this point. where they're talking about something as, both players do it at the same time and one player is considerably slower, right? So a casual player may not notice that, but they might be frustrated if they're doing it at the same time and they're like, why am I losing out all the time, even if we're using the same buttons? So I think that's a pretty good, significant change that will help both sides from all aspects.
I'd say a big winner is Ryu. He's got a lot of different changes, mostly just things that get a little bit less, more safe than usual. Like a Shogeki is went from -4 to -3. No button is -3, or no button is 3 frames, so that is considered safe. Even though I think it had a pretty good pushback, but hey, I'm not a Ryu main.
I mean, you talked earlier about Luke. Luke got significantly, he got changes, but only the crouch medium punch was something that was changed, where people really are feeling the effect now, where they're getting hit for whiffing. It's not a button you could just kind of abuse anymore. There's more recovery. Whereas some of the other things didn't really change his gameplay, but also didn't make people steer away from him. Like the air flash knuckle got changed, and his Vulcan blast, which is super 1, which is just the fireballs. Those have now been expanded for the frame, like recovery, and also the frame boxes where you can hit them is easier. So they got nerfed, but it wasn't so significant that you won't see them being played. Whereas, like you said, Ken got pretty harshly nerfed, where you're not seeing him as much. But I think one character that went under the radar that's considerably a top character is DJ. DJ just kind of went untouched.
Yep.
They said, his funky slicer, which is I believe that's his slicing kick. They're like, knockback on block has been decreased and size of the hurt box after active frames has been expanded. It's like, yeah, but what about everything else that's been terrorizing the game? His drive rush to crouch medium kick, stuff like that.
Yeah.
So there's characters who got significantly, I guess, say untouched, whereas someone like JP. And I'm kind of only going through top characters that are mostly used, whereas JP got the you're not going to probably see this character played as much anymore. He got hit from his standing heavy punch, crouching heavy punch, his normal overdrive amnesia, which is, I believe that's his normal and overdrive version, which is the EX version, where it's his parry or his DP. Those things are now actually not as scary. Players can deal with those better. And I would imagine even from, if you're playing at a lower to mid level, you've probably been frustrated with this. Maybe not even knowing now, but it's going to be easier to deal with from different aspects. The drive gauge increase for drive parrying it is way more. You'll be rewarded for him doing it carelessly, or rather just for doing it. So, and even though it's supposed to be a way for him to get out, it does get him out, but it doesn't reward him and allow him to keep getting rewards off of that.
But I mean, the scaling, it now has initial scaling value of 50%. At that point, do you even add it to your play if you're a JP player? Like, it's going to be nerfed. Yeah, it might get you out the corner, but is that even an option for you now? Maybe you're a JP who never does amnesia on wake up, and you're like, well, I can jump out the corner now since this player's gonna think I'm gonna do amnesia. Or maybe I just have a jab option, and maybe that just adds to the mix. I'm never amnesia JP. Who knows?
I feel like the scaling doesn't matter because they can always set up for reset. It gets them out of gel. That's what it's supposed to. DPs don't give you more damage, nor should parries that are quote unquote your DP out. Yeah. So I think they're balancing it, right? This is what we asked for. Make a balance.
But at the same time, this also adds to that. Wait, can you combo it out of grab? Or am I thinking of when they
No, you're thinking of his
I'm thinking of knockdown.
Super 2.
Yeah. Well, there's a way you can knock down, use a tear spike into a grab. Yeah. Or on a grab. Yeah, it's weird.
I mean, he just overall is a very unique character, just like how we were talking about Ed earlier. Has a very uniqueness to him. I think he just was never scaled down, and they just didn't test. They didn't have somebody come in and go, "Hey, break this character."
Yeah.
And throughout the months, we broke the character.
Right.
So that was kind of a big thing. And we were seeing like 60% combos off of like Super 2 or, situations where nobody could have a response to it. So I think this is a good answer to just stop it from happening and still allow it to be playable, but tone it down, right? The damage isn't as high. That's the main thing. But other characters did get kind of like these little buffs, and I wouldn't even say buffs. They got more fixes and adjustments.
I saw a lot of jab adjustments and big button adjustments, like Ken's Stand Fierce got adjustments, like also with hurt boxes. Chun-Li's hurt boxes on her stand jab. Rashid's stand boxes and stand jab. So those like sort of far buttons, sort of I guess a little bit easier to whiff punish. I'm glad that Ken's could, because Ken could reach you from from space.
But I know people are probably asking what happened to the other characters. Why didn't they get buffed, or why didn't they get nerfed? I think it was kind of clear as day. They did say, and I know we talked about it earlier, Gabe, they were saying, hey, this is not the complete patch. We're still working on it. Expect things later. So this is something that is healthy. We've asked for it. It's been actually a pretty long amount of time, because they also had Capcom Cup. So I think throughout that period of the game coming out, it's been almost about a year, right? Roughly. Right. This is a good time to patch. We've seen games, we've seen games patch in like the first 3 months. In RS.
Yeah. And usually it's like major changes, and these are significant, but not to the point where they added like new moves, or they took away a move, or they took away the function of a move. Like, for instance, you brought up DJ and his back heavy kick. Like, I bring up his back heavy kick all the time. That thing is cheap. You can cancel, and you can anti-air, even a cross cut out of the corner. Banana sandwich. But it's a crazy button. It's a crazy move. But again, it's not like they changed it where Street Fighter 4 would go from one iteration to another with a different function for a button. So this is definitely like the touch-ups, and I'm pretty sure we're going to get a significant amount of changes with whatever next patch they have.
Of course, and moving straight into more patch notes, getting off of Street Fighter, jumping onto Tekken. Tekken actually had quite a bit of patch notes themselves, where they got their 1.02.01 patch, which it came out on the 28th, but it was a lot of good, healthy stuff. I'll kind of just talk mostly about the patch notes first before we get into what they added additionally to the game. They worked on a lot of quality of life things, from floor breaks to adjusting hitboxes, hurt boxes, any type of glitches. But they also went as far as to update some moves, and some of the highlights that I kind of wanted to talk about, which was their common systems, is some of the stages got corrections, right? Where you would hit somebody somewhere and people might fall through the ground like they're not supposed to, or there might be issues where certain things just did not connect where they did on other wall stages that do. So one of the big things was hold moves. Some hold moves, as people probably saw, King was able to do on counter hit. If you did a certain type of grab, the combination you could not break. You cannot break any of his combination. It's something that's been talked about. They said it's really cheap, really hard to do, but it's very situational, but it's really strong, and it needs to not be in the game, because you could lose 60 to 70% life off of it for not being able to break. So they fixed those things where quite a few characters now you couldn't reverse their grabs, specific grabs, and now you can. So they're looking at updating the health of the game. They've also updated the health recovery moves. So some of the UI animations and dedicated sound effects have been set up for health recovery, so that you understand that you're getting health back. And there's times where people just didn't know that they're getting health back. I even had to look at my health and then go back and be like, okay, that was something that gives me health. All right, now I have an indication that I know what moves are giving me health. So they did do that, but they also took it as far as to update some of, like I said, very quality of life. They didn't try to change too many moves or frame data or anything. They just kind of said, this pushes back too far, or this is something that is having a bit of a collision box. And I mean, you guys can go through a ton of the Tekken patch notes. I don't want to sit on too much of it, but they did, at least in my opinion, help improve how we look at patch notes by putting an arrow up or a negative sign, which just says nothing happened. So arrow up means that this is kind of like fixed / buffed. But and then the middle, the negative sign is just, this doesn't affect anything really. And then something that would be an arrow down, this is nerfed. So there was significantly a lot more ups than downs looking at this, until you get towards the bottom where you're seeing Reina. Reina is just getting hit left and right, because she is a very volatile character that you don't get to guess on as much. You don't get to really counterplay. You have to kind of guess a lot. So they've done a lot of work on making sure that people feel the difference, which I do like.
So it took them 16 years to get on board with the Borderlands method of patch notes. Like that's essentially that's all I heard. He said, "Oh, it's an arrow up." I'm like, Borderlands.
Yeah, it's just the smartest thing to do. I think all companies should do that now. It's just simple. It makes sense.
And no, it does. I just thought it was funny. I'm not against it.
the up dash down stuff, or what do you mean?
Yeah.
Okay. For like a quick note. I think people want to pay more attention to the like the dashes, right? Like, okay, what happened to my character?
Exactly. I'm like, oh, I went straight to Leo. I was like, did I get anything? I was like, oh, it's on neutral. It's okay. It's fun. That's still a good character.
And there's still no update on Ed, right? I mean, Eddie. Wow, what's with all these Ed players? No, Eddie, right?
No, there has not been any update on Eddie. We're still waiting on news for release. But they did go as far as to update something. So first, if you guys don't know what happened to all your online replays when they did this patch update, it deleted all of them. This is a common thing. I see this with DNF Duel. I've seen it with Street Fighter. It's okay. They're just clearing the memory bank. That's how I look at it. They're clearing the memory bank.
Whenever your game gets patched, if you have any highlight or any like demos or replays that you want to keep, you need to save those bad boys and get them off, because any patch is liable to make it so that you can't watch those anymore. Because I mean, I'm not going to get into technical details, but it's not just a video recording of you playing, right? It's a lot more than that. It's like that replay is attached to that version of the game, and if the next version is not backward compatible, if they made a breaking change to that version of the game, those replays won't be available. So anytime, I'll tell you, anytime you get a patch, if you have important replays, get them out of there.
I will say DNF Duel did a good job. They actually let you save the replays you wanted, and they were like, those will stay, but anything that's not saved, gone, which is interesting.
Okay.
Would it break the game because that match is still under the previous patch?
It won't break the game, but it's a possibility that like inputs, like certain inputs, or like the way that the game works. I guess technically speaking, it might crash the game. Like, let's say they had I was gonna say a method, but let's say they had a function that every time somebody does a specific move, it triggers this function in the game. And if they got rid of that, or if they renamed it something else and it goes to do that, it'll throw an exception or throw an error. So so I guess it can break the game. But sometimes like it just like, maybe nothing happens now in the replay when somebody goes to do a move. So that's why.
That might explain why the PS Vita version of Ultimate Marvel 3, it had a replay function, and some of the replays that were on there, I'm like, I don't remember picking this character, and I don't remember just standing there doing nothing. Or why is this move happening that it doesn't make any sense? It was probably because of those inputs. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. I guess now that we're getting to the technical aspect of it, for those who don't know, here we are. Like, for those who don't know, like a replay system, what it's doing is it's recording your inputs, like your controller inputs and things like that, and pretty much all it's doing is replaying that like automatically in sequence and at the same exact time that you did. So when it's loading up the game and loading up the map, and well, I was gonna say map because shooters, but like loading up the game, loading up the stage, loading up the characters, is loading all of that, and then basically it just takes whatever inputs you put in before and just replays those at the same exact clip that you did, and that's how you get your replay. And that's why you can stop it. You can in shooters you can turn around and look in different parts of the map and see what other people are doing. And in fighting games they probably could just make it a video if they want to, but then again it's smaller, just the file size is smaller just having the inputs. But that's how they work.
I was just going to say, for this, I don't think it's feasible because remember, their online replay is tied to a system that allows you to change your options and react. So this, I feel like what you're saying, Ja, is even more critical for them to wipe, because those things are built into their system,
right?
Where the game has to go, hey, you have this file, okay, hey, pull over here, and this is something you could recorrect. So it's definitely not something that's just a video format of what you did.
Gotcha,
right? So,
because they also allow us to go into the replay and fight that replay ghost and try to block what the inputs are. So even more technicalities. Fantastic.
Did you say technicalities?
If you want to hear that, sure. I didn't make the joke, but that's what you heard.
I don't know. Maybe it's just my Gabe brain. I just thought you did.
Okay.
So
He's saying you missed an opportunity, Gabe. That's what he's saying.
And I capitalized and said, sure, if I said it, I will take it.
But they also did some other nice patches, which they implemented something new. The Tekken Shop. The Tekken Shop where you could buy Tekken coins and you can buy new costumes. We'll get a little bit further into that a little bit later, talking about those things. But they did improve a lot of the online lobby system. So Fight Lounge is now improved. Matchmaking's better. They did also improve a lot of the bugs that we were seeing with issues where you'd go to rematch somebody and you think you're rematching them, but they're still stuck at the grayed out where they can't rematch, and then finally when it's time for them to try, it's maybe 1 second left or none. It's pretty bad.
I haven't played the game in like 2 weeks since I was at your house, and only because I've not trained in the game and I don't know really how to play it. So I've gotten to a ranked level where I'm like, all right, now I know how to, and now I need to learn how to fight these guys that I'm fighting now. So I'm waiting for Eddie so I can get even more cheap, and then I'll learn the game a little bit more.
Just play the game and take your losses so you can learn. Like,
I need to learn.
Take the L's, man.
Nope. I need to learn how to fight Leroy. He beat me up.
But one thing they did do was they did start adding more customizable items because people did say, hey, these things are kind of missing. So they added more avatars for the lobbies.
Okay.
They added original costumes, which were actually pretty cool to see because I like original costumes, and I felt like the 4 costumes that they gave us was like Tekken 7-ish meets Tekken 8, and then Tekken 8 cast outfits. But now we're seeing them throw back to like Jin's old costume where he had the hoodie or his pants. And the cool part is you can bring it into story mode. And if you haven't played story mode and you're looking to play story mode, this might be the best time to put them in their old outfits at certain points in the game. Although I don't suggest that because no spoilers, but story is really cool and they do it really nicely. So, but if you wanted to, you could have Jin in one of his old outfits prior to that. So they did add quite a few from King to Jin. You're going to see, and they didn't just hold back on doing like these specific characters. They added a ton from avatars like King's avatar now, Reina's avatar, and I imagine they're only going to keep adding more because people are asking for more avatars. But if you want to check it out yourself. See if it's worth it. Although they are a little expensive and you're going to find yourself spending a lot of coins to get maybe the avatars or the outfits you want, because they're about, I think they said is like per avatar, it leaves you with like 100 leftover coins. So it's kind of hard. You have to keep paying for maybe like $5. You can't just pay for that $3 or $4 to get the costume, where we see those transactions are usually in some other games. But I want to ask you, our question of the week: what previous outfits would you bring back for Tekken 8? Whether it be from Tekken 1, Tekken 2, Tekken 3, maybe from Tekken Revolution, which nobody really plays anymore or ever played. I don't know. You tell me. Maybe those are some costumes you guys would like to see, and if they would make maybe old avatars. So definitely let us know what you guys think. All right, guys, we're going to take this quick ad break, but when we get back, we're going to talk more about the Tekken Shop. Sit tight. We'll be right back. All right, guys, welcome back. And of course, we're going to talk a little bit more about the Tekken 8 shop transactions, as that has become a pretty hot topic amongst a lot of Tekken 8 players and maybe even casual players who maybe don't want to spend $5 and get get a dollar back and then have to pay an extra $5. I know Jaws really heavily into this, and I want to learn more about it because I'm kind of interested, because I see it happen a lot, transactions with mobile games, and a lot of shooters nowadays are doing stuff like that.
Well, don't say I'm like really into it. Like, microtransactions aren't my jam. Like, I just have thoughts on it. Like, that's
yeah, but doesn't that make it your jam? You're like, yo, I kind of know this stuff. It's kind of fun.
Well,
like, it is a hot thing though. I mean, I do like microtransactions depending on how they're done.
Well, the thing is, like, I wouldn't say like I know I've just lived through this before. Like most of us at this age have. Like, I mean, this isn't like a new thing, right? Where the Tekken skins are $4 a piece. And you can only buy currency in packs of 5 or greater. I mean, this screams Xbox Live currency
Yeah.
15 years ago, where they kind of did the same thing. Yeah, like where it's like, oh, well, this thing costs 400 Microsoft points, or Xbox points, or whatever the currency was at the time, but you can only buy 500. And the issue is that it's predatory. It's predatory. Like they're doing that to keep your foot in the door to buy the next thing. Now, somebody, I don't know if it's in this audience, but somebody could say, oh, well, they're probably doing that because they need to clear $5, because in order to make a profit, or the profit they want, they need to be able to clear the transaction fees and the processing fees. And I can understand that, because, when you pay your $5 to get your 500 Tekken coins, that $5 doesn't go directly. It doesn't always go to, well, not all of it goes to Namco Bandai, right? Like whoever the storefront is. So let's say you're buying it on PlayStation, PSN gets a cut of that, plus the payment processor and stuff like that. So yeah, sure. They want to charge $5 because that might be the minimum that they can charge and still make the profit they want to make. I'm totally okay with that. But if that's the case, just raise the cost of the skin by $1. Just raise the cost, because somebody who wants that costume is not going to be like, oh, if it was $4, I'd buy it, but $5, oh, you think I'm made out of gold? Like, they're not going to do that. So just raise it by $5, raise it by $1. And then I don't think we'd have an issue. But the fact that they're trying to leave that money on the table, so that when you log in, I don't have Tekken 8, so I don't know where you would see your currency, if it's only in the shop or it's on the home screen or whatever. But so you see that I have that, $1. And some people, that really bothers some people. That really bothers, that they'd have to get that clear. Because to clear it, you'd have to buy at least $20 in coins.
Yeah, I'm one of those people who don't like that. Playing other games where there are microtransactions, I'm 100% okay with them, as long as it's not like this, right?
Yeah.
Where it feels like they did it with Street Fighter 6, which is, some people are like, I'm buying costumes I can't even wear that are for my avatar, but I'm also spending money and having this leftover change because I had to pay 20. Like, it's not like Steam where you just go on, you go, I want that specific $14.99 or $13.87. I'm paying just that, right? Now it's like, oh, I have to pay this $25 for credit, and then I get I have to pay, for the game, which is like $23. I can't just pay for it straight up. So, or even, a DLC of that fashion. I see it in like games like Fortnite. They do that where, yeah, you have a bunch of coins left over, and it's like, well, should I just pay a little bit more to buy the next costume that I don't really care about just to clear it?
Right.
It feels like you're always in this perpetual state of always spending.
It's either that, or they just have an extra $1. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like they just keep your money. So it's a win-win for them. I interrupted you, Gabe. I'm sorry.
No, yeah, it was different back in Xbox Live when you could use those points on anything though. This time you got to use it on the current game you're on.
I would not say it's different, because there was very few things that actually cost what the pack of coins cost, or Microsoft points. There were very few things. Most things cost 400 points.
Yeah, I always get like the $20 ones, which came with what 2000 or
yeah, 2000. Yeah, 2000.
But then I always had like 400 left, so I would use them Street Fighter, and then like maybe Rock Band or something to get like a new song.
I feel like a song.
Yeah, which were very cheap.
Okay, well, I mean, if you can utilize, like, so for Tekken, right? If somebody wanted to buy 5 costumes, they're like $20, great, no problem.
And then Street Fighter, $10 each. Whoa.
Yeah, that's great in that scenario. But for a lot of people, they might only want 1 costume or 2 costumes. And like, no, now you just have this extra money that you're giving away to them, or you're going to spend more money so that you can clear it and feel like you really got your money's worth. So yeah, that's
I always felt like that was the way, like, because obviously playing League and Valorant and stuff like that, they kind of have this system. I feel like you always have that little bit left, and you're like, what if I just spend a little bit more when I come back just to get that skin? And you see like you're still left over with a little bit. I feel like it's always this perpetual state that you're stuck in, where you're like, I just want to if it was clear and I didn't have anything, I'm not spending. But because I always have that little bit, I want to come back and just finish it off. I don't know if that's a negative thing or if that's what they're doing on purpose, but it does feel like that. And I think we've seen it a lot more in fighting games now than we have before, where it's just like, oh, just buy the DLC, whether it be on Steam or something like that, which I always love buying my stuff through Steam. But when it's a shop in the game, it changes the whole dynamic. So with that being said, I'm going to pose a question to you guys, or rather a poll that we have for the week. Are you okay with a $70 fighting game or having microtransactions? Want to know what you guys think. Personally, I don't mind it, but would prefer it to be a little bit more accessible for us, where it's not hurting the consumer more.
Right.
So, but guys, with that being said, we're going to move straight into some MK1 patch notes, which thank God there wasn't too much, because all you got was Peacemaker. I'm just kidding. There was some patch notes. Peacemaker being a big part of this new patch, and with behind him came a lot more things that people weren't expecting, because it wasn't really announced on the patches itself. But before we get into that, I want to talk about the Pro League, because the Pro League also was announced at the same time, where that's going to be in Toronto, Canada for the first time, June 14th to 16th, where top players are going to duke it out for $200,000. Obviously, you could sign up for LCQ if you're interested in that. That's obviously available, but it's something to think about with how short they ran the stint of pro competition. Is it good or bad? Are they avoiding Evo? Is this something you want to go to? Is this something you prefer to watch? That's up to you. You'll have to figure that out. But I wanted to jump into the fact that there's DLC outfits that they released. I particularly don't care for Mortal Kombat DLC, because a lot of it's all the same to me. But they did go as far as to bring back the MK3 Sub-Zero costume. They did all UMK3 outfits. They brought back MK3 Sub-Zero. We're also seeing Scorpion. There's a few others that I would imagine they've also released, where they're still putting it out. I haven't looked online to see all of them. But if you are a big fan of UMK3, those costumes are available. I don't know if that's something you've been into, Gabe, because I know you're big into Mortal Kombat 9, right?
No, sure. Good guess.
Good guess.
No.
Well, I know Dre is into it.
That's his baby.
And you guys know lore, so it goes hand in hand.
Yeah, I know. I like the story, but I mean, the costumes, they're there. They're there for cosmetics. I think it's cool that they're giving more stuff, but again, it's also that currency stuff that we were just talking about, which is. I wish they took the route of the previous games where you could, not previous games, but other games where you can play the game, be rewarded certain things to actually purchase them. So, but again, I think they look cool. I like the Flamehead Scorpion that was out, and it's out now, but the Sub-Zero looks dope. It has the scar. It has the Mortal Kombat 3 scar in the face. It doesn't look too flashy. Like some of the old costumes usually look flashy, like they look like they're quilts on top of them, like they look like bad cosplays. But I do like how these Mortal Kombat 3 costumes are looking. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I'll just say the only thing I would like to see them go back to is doing maybe a major season pass for those costumes, or a bundle. We've kind of strayed away from the bundles, and we're doing those like separate transactions now.
Some of those previous games I instantly bought, like the female ninja bundles. Those are really cool. Like the Jade
even
ones.
If you didn't like one, even if you didn't like one out of the 4 or 3, you still got something, right? But the main attraction was Peacemaker. I know you said you tried him a little bit. No,
but I still have to get my data from my brother's PS5 into mine. However, I did watch a video of him. Yes, it was Max's. I know that's okay, but he seems to be very good. He's like a Deadshot good, aka why does he have so much movement good? Have you seen the movement stuff he can do?
Because he's stiff.
Well, I mean, he can just activate super mode or just anti-gravity, and he just moves around.
Yeah, that's why he's stiff to begin with. So then when he does do those things, he looks way better.
Have you seen John Cena stand in a ring? He's got to be stiff these days. He's just hunched over like Kurt Angle. Anyway, go on.
So obviously Peacemaker dropping, really cool, interesting character. People didn't see the show. This is a good entry point to get into those other aspects. But for me, I really enjoyed just watching his gameplay.
Yeah.
For me, he's not the type of character for me. But I watched a lot of people find a lot of scummy stuff from his like 1-1, his 1-2.
Yeah.
They look the same even if you switch like do the switch stance. So those are really cool things. But I like to focus on, did Peacemaker really allow for casual players to really get back into the game? Because we're seeing a lot of superhero characters. I feel like Peacemaker was kind of like another grounding. Like, okay, if you're a DC fan, Peacemaker may not have been your first choice, but we've seen DC characters in the game before, in Mortal Kombat games before. I think Peacemaker is a pretty hot topic right now for at least DC Universe to some degree. So because, you know, the new season of his show is being announced too.
Yeah.
So I think those are things that are only, you know, helping push WB and also NRS. I think this is a good entry point for casuals.
Oh, of course. However, the casuals will complain that they are getting lamed out. Sorry, no offense to any casuals that are in here, but he's got a gun and he shoots across the screen, and then people don't know how to crouch highs. So also, I think having a swooping low, that's gonna get on my nerves when I start to play the game again. A swooping, what is it? Is it the eagle? It goes so fast, I can barely see what he's doing. It's just whoosh, and it's like, wait, what are you flipping around for? Oh, my legs! Like, I want to see his brutalities if it causes anything. But I've seen already just a corner combo with no meter and using the acid spit just do like 400 to 500 damage, easy.
Yeah, I mean, I think the one thing for me looking at this character, and when I first saw him, I was like, oh, he looks underdeveloped,
really?
Possibly. For me, it looked like that because looking at him and Omni-Man, because I kind of just take Quan Chi, I'm like, you're a character that was developed before. But like new characters that have not been in the series, I feel like he seemed kind of underdeveloped. And then as I saw people playing the character more, I was like, okay, he feels like a fleshed out, developed character. But why did I think that before? Looking at Omni-Man, where I was like, oh, Omni-Man looks way more detailed and way more fleshed out. And then I see Peacemaker and I'm like, did they just kind of half-ass this or pull like original moves and just kind of skin them over? And I start noticing those things, but then I also start noticing his own unique stuff. So I don't know. It's something just like food for thought. If we ever, if somebody ever comes up with a comparison video to just see if, was he just rushed or underdeveloped? Well, due to the fact that we are kind of in this period of just dropping a character every few months. So
there are a lot of videos already out there that shows comparison to the show. And I mean, when you have a character with so many moves or so many references, you can't really get everything in there, but you try to cram it as much as you can. So I think that's the issue that they're falling into.
So the one thing I just want to focus on before we hop off this topic a little bit is they had an actual patch that never came out on the website. It released, I guess people found a bunch of stuff and it was released somewhere, but
as of yesterday, it's on the site.
Oh, now it's on the site.
I looked at the very top says 3/4/24 just now.
Okay, because it wasn't there before.
Event Hubs is down for me, so that's where I had to find it. I Googled it and it's on the site as of yesterday, just yesterday, not as of this weekend when we were preparing. So here we are. But
it might have been because he's full release today for everyone.
That makes sense.
Before it was early access. That's what I forgot. I forgot we have early access for these characters. So the one thing that I really thought was a good addition to this patch, outside of them changing a bunch of character stuff and nerfing and it's mostly fixes. From what I saw, it was mostly fixes. It's a few, not even nerfs, I would even say, or changes. There's like some, but it's mostly with like Melina's got most of the changes. Everybody else is small little fixes. My focus isn't that. My focus was that the things that they added for adjustments was the AI adjustments were improved. The visuals for brutalities were fixed because some of them were bugging out. But even the match timer immediately, if the fatal blow misses or is blocked, it would just start, it would resume. Right? It wasn't doing that before. So they fixed those things. But the highlight of all of this, they have invasion HUD changes. They have practice mode fixes. The highlight, and no one can take this away from anything that we've been waiting for them to do, which was they added crossplay.
Oh, yeah.
They finally added crossplay. That took way too many months, and they still haven't addressed any issues with the PC like third and fourth gen, not being able to play the damn game. So I don't know why that wasn't addressed first. They did some type of PC, Steam, and Epic Game Store update where system requirements changed. I guess that's their way of saying, hey guys, if you were on third or fourth gen, you can't play this game. It's just gonna not work. And it went from the size of 100 gigabytes to 140.
Yikes.
A lot. And I don't know if that was the proper way to deal with it, but hey, if you have the game, you can play it. Now you get crossplay in ranked mode, in tournament mode, all these different modes. So I think this was kind of a win for NRS, but I don't know until we see how the people who've been affected and how many who are on PC, right? Because obviously primarily most people are going to be on PS4, PS5 or Xbox. So I think this is still something good to look at. Switch players, sorry, you don't get crossplay. It's unfortunate for you.
I mean,
but would you want it?
Right. Would you even want the game on Switch, right? I was looking through some of the changes for my characters like Sindel. Cameo color is now pink when enhanced Queen's Command is active. So there's some good like quality of life visual changes, it seems, to the game nowadays. So that's pretty cool.
Also online rollback was fixed.
Fixed how? Exactly, yeah. Fixed when?
I mean, the only thing they said is issues with characters' visuals changing when blocking certain brutalities, starting attacks with at low health. I mean, if that helps, fine. It's a quality of life thing, but I think they should address that a little bit differently, because saying fixed online rollback issues, I mean, just say fix issues online. Because if we start thinking rollback issues, then we think there's a bigger problem, especially from a casual standpoint. They're going to say there was problems with rollback. Well, I don't know. Casuals may not see rollback as a big thing, but competitors might.
Casuals do not know what rollback is.
You just know internet exists.
They have no idea what rollback is. They don't even know how multiplayer works. So don't even worry about casuals in that conversation.
They're like, I can use my mic. That's all that matters.
Exactly.
I can see something bad. But I did want to address the one cool thing that they did on the side, because we did talk about, expanding outside of the normal fighting game realm. They did for the mobile. They had a mobile game out called MK Onslaught, where Peacemaker is now available in that game. It's not a fighting game. It is kind of just a auto attacker. I'm not really gonna dive too much into it because it's not a fighting game per se, but it uses the characters like Street Fighter Duel did. I still think Street Fighter Duel's system was better. It allowed you to kind of work with the characters a lot better, but it does feel a little pay to win on my aspect of things. I went through all the system, not really a fan of that, but Street Fighter Duel I feel like still did set a good precedent. So same with King of Fighters All-Star. I think Mortal Kombat's trying to visit that and try to do more. And it's nice that the Peacemaker just came out with that. But with that being said, guys, that is going to round off our show. We just want to thank you guys for listening. Of course, you can check me out on Mezza FGC on Twitter, Twitch, wherever. Just kicking it. Obviously, getting ready to start hosting new series again. Second season of Nightfall. And where can they find you, Gabe?
I am StaticGorilla on most platforms: Twitter, X, Twitch, and YouTube as well. I'm gonna look into uploading a couple of just new footage or anything that I ended up finding. I don't know what I'll find, but fighting game wise, we're gonna have that ready for you.
And if you guys want to, of course, talk a little bit more on some other different topics that still tie into fighting games, you can check out our producer at Jostradamus on Twitter, where he does a lot more in there, and you can say a little bit more freer things, where you could jump into more heated debate with him.
Yeah, but you can reach out to me on Twitter if you want to. Like,
he's like, I don't know if you want to go there.
It's your life. It's your own time when you're wasting.
And of course, if you guys want to comment and of course get more connected with us, whether it's through questions or topics, you can of course join us in the community by going to doubletap.gg and just clicking that Discord link, and we can get into whether it's the question of the week or the polls. But of course, without you guys sharing, we cannot keep doing this. So keep sharing, share it with your friends, share it with your family, and rate and review us, whether it be on Spotify, iTunes, or your favorite choice platform. And of course, make sure you guys tune in afterwards to hear more about other topics and other shows. All right, guys, we'll see you next time.